What is up, my Jets family? What is going on, everybody out there? Man, I'm excited. We got Daniel. We got some people here already before the show even started. Look at that. Man, shouting out comments 5 minutes before. Good evening to you, my man. Happy to have you here. Let's go, Jets. So I'm excited. As you guys know, I appreciate you tuning in to the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. So let's get into it. We're going to start with a training camp preview because that's what's coming up. And training camp is really exciting and important because it's the first time we're going to actually see the rookie class, Wilson, in pads as Jets. Preseason is infinitely more important because that's when we're going to get, more of a vibe in actual game time, which is why, just pointing it out, I thought it was crazy to me that, some people were saying we didn't need a preseason. Like that's what last season showed. Like, wait a minute. What? Like last season, even guys like Tom Brady, who I don't want to give any credit to, literally said that the first couple of weeks were like preseason because of not having one. I mean, yeah, think about that. Why does it matter to see what your guys can do against another team? Let's just see what they do against our guys. We've seen that enough. Jet fans, we thought the team looked pretty solid in 2019, in 2020, when they played against each other. You have to see what they do against other teams. So preseason is crucial. Training camp's important, but preseason is one of the most crucial things coming. But in training camp is going to be the first time we're going to see a lot of these guys in pads for the Jets for the first time. And that's going to be exciting because as you guys know, and I've pointed out, and people joke about it all the time, how many freaking super shorts superstars do we see all the time? I mean, that's like the best way to put them, right? Like shorts superstars, because that's what they are. I remember, especially a wide receiver. Like I think of like Clyde Gates. You remember Clyde Gates, guys? That was like the ultimate short superstar. Like that kid looked like every year. I think it was like, shit. I'm getting up there now. I'm getting old. I'd say like 2014, 15, 16-ish, I think, when he was there. But man, every freaking training camp before training camp in shorts, the kid looked like the real deal. Like this kid is it. Like he's finally figured it out. And then we've seen it all the time with other guys. Like obviously Chad Hansen translated with the Texans as we saw, which wasn't surprising, just maybe in a bad system with the Jets. But yeah, got it. Pardon me, guys. No worries. What's going on? So I see a bunch of you guys in here right now, all excited. And it's training camp. Training camp is absolutely crucial, and that's really, really exciting. Zach's here. Shout out to Zach, man. Told you I was coming. Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate all you guys being here. Zach, PK Ripper, James, Jeremy. Sup, guys? Appreciate you coming. So we're talking about training camp right now, and we're talking about why it's so important to see players in pads. Because as I mentioned before, with the shorts superstars, a lot of guys look damn good when the pads aren't on. When you actually start to hit them, things change sometimes. So training camp is going to be important to see what these guys look like in pads, but also, as I mentioned as well to you guys, there's going to be a lot of positional battles coming up as well. And we've talked about them. We've talked about him over the past couple of weeks. We've talked about him and stuff like that. But there's going to be a lot of interesting positional battles that we're going to see in training camp. And one positional battle we're not going to see is QB1. QB1, Zach Wilson. That's our guy. Zach Wilson, the guy I wanted, the guy everyone was finally saying, this is the QB2. This is the guy. This is it. I'm excited, man. You guys know how I feel about Zach Wilson. But QB2 is going to be an interesting positional camp battle because that will be a battle. Some people have speculated, bringing in a veteran, and I believe I mentioned it to you guys. If I didn't, apologize. Maybe this is the first time hearing it. But in an interview with Robert Saleh, I forgot who it was, but somebody asked him about the potential of bringing in a veteran, and Saleh gave a great answer. He said, the two guys we have in here right now are looking good. They're looking good in OTAs. They're playing well. They're two young guys with potential. He wanted to see what they had. He didn't close the door, though, because he did end it by saying, could we bring a veteran in down the road? Yeah. Yeah, he said that. He said, yeah. So, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, especially if you're bringing in a veteran, they have experience. Let's see what these two young guys can do. I mean, everyone's horse seems to be James Morgan, which is understandable. I mean, you guys know how I felt about Morgan. When Joe drafted Morgan, everyone kept saying it was a horrible pick. But I disagreed. Remember, I kept pointing out how at the time, people forget to remember, Flacco was a question mark. Flacco was coming off 2 years of both being injured in 2019 and 2020. Didn't finish a full season either of those 2 years. Made sense to take a later round quarterback. And James Morgan, man, James Morgan has a hell of a deep ball. Remember, that's the joke I made. Remember when we were doing the QB eval, when I was talking to you guys about Wilson and Fields and Trevor Lawrence and all them, and I was saying how everyone only talks about the deep balls and the big throws, or the wide receiver does all the work. That's literally what you have in that situation. James Morgan throws an amazing deep ball. If you love deep balls, check out James Morgan. He threw great deep balls while he was at FIU. So there's potential there. My interesting dark horse, and I think I've mentioned it to you guys before, and again, just want to throw out, it's based on limited information, because like you guys, I can only see so much. Like with the media, I can only see what the media is allowed to see. So I don't see everything, but from what I've seen, the little bit I've seen from the quarterbacks, between Morgan and White, I actually liked White. I felt like when I looked at the footwork, for example, and then when they were doing the bag drill and they were bouncing back and forth, I felt like White's footwork was infinitely better, faster. I felt like his throws had more, drive to him, really. I felt like, how do I can think of the word? That's funny. His throws definitely felt like they had good oomph to them, good drive. They were accurate. I liked what I saw in White. Remember, I'd mentioned to you guys in the past, the one thing that everyone talked about with White was his football IQ. That was that big focus. When he went in the draft, I believe it was 2018, I believe, when he was drafted. Don't quote me, but I think it was 2018, maybe 2019, might have been 2019. But when he was drafted, I think it was 2019. But when he was drafted, Mike White, they praised his football IQ. That was the one thing they kept saying about Mike White. I forgot who it was exactly, but there was a coach that had said he'd sat down with Mike White and asked him questions, and his answers just blew him away. Like he said, he literally anticipated things that he might ask and answered them perfectly. Like he just nailed it. Everything they kept saying about him was his football IQ, just off the chart. So I think Jeremy, points it out, makes a good point. He says if either kid works out, could see an engine urgency in bringing in a veteran in 2022 when they're really serious about contending. Although we might shock the world this year because Zach is savage. Bro, Zach's the man. Zach is the freaking man. This kid is going to be great. He has so much potential. You know the things I love about him. We've seen it a little bit now. He's showing what makes him special. And I think we could compete now. I mean, it's not guaranteed. It's definitely not guaranteed. But remember the word I think you guys remember I kept using to describe what the Jets could do this season was the word volatile. I felt that, with a new head coach that's got a lot of motivation, done a lot of the right things, his defenses have always looked really, really good. We have the right pieces in place, excited about LaFleur, with Wilson's potential. This team could be amazing. This could be a 9-10, hell, maybe even 11-win team. But there's no guarantee in that. It could also be a 6-8 team. And you guys remember I told you how I felt with that if the team, went 6-8, as long as things are looking right, we're moving in the right direction. Zach Wilson looks better week after week. He's progressing. LaFleur looks like he's progressing as an OC. The offense looks good. The defense is grinding. If everything looks good and looks like it's moving in the right direction, I'm cool with 6-8 wins because Rome wasn't built in a day. That's simple. It takes time to build greatness. Remember, we talked about it. It's why Joe Douglas demanded a 6-year deal. It's why Robert Saleh demanded a 6-year deal. They knew it wasn't going to be a quick fix, especially when Douglas came in. You remember with my GM, the GM podcast I did a little while back, talking about Douglas brought into that situation. It's a crazy situation. He's brought in after a draft and after free agency and after everything's built. And here's your team. Do you want it? So they're doing the right things. The right pieces are in place. I think they can compete right now, potentially. I mean, again, it's a very iffy situation. I think, like Matthias says it as well, 8 to 9 wins. I think it's somewhere in there, honestly. I think it's somewhere in the 6 to 8 range on the lower side with, again, as long as things look good, I'm happy. If Wilson is getting better week by week, his numbers are going up, the progressions are there, the reads are there, he's making better decisions, better throws, the team looks better, Salah looks better. If everything looks better, I'm cool with that. But again, we said it. I think I mentioned it the other day. Remember, I said the Mike Tyson quote. Remember, Mike Tyson is famous for everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. That's what Mike Tyson said, and that's what he did. He popped Evander Holyfield, and the plan changes because that's what happens. Man, guys, you remember I've said it. No team can prepare for what we've got. You've never seen Robert Saleh as a head coach, or Michael LaFleur as an OC, or Zach Wilson in a Jets uniform with Corey Davis as his wide receiver one, with Mims and Cole and Michael Carter in the backfield. There's so much synthesis these teams have to do to try to figure out what we're going to do. They're not going to know it immediately. So I go with that Mike Tyson face, that Mike Tyson quote, punch him in the mouth. If they come out of the gate quick, if Wilson looks as good as he's been looking, man, this team could have potential. So there's definitely potential there, but that's the way I look at it. I optimistically look at it with that potential and them not being ready for us. Hell, take it to 9+, 10, 11 wins, maybe make a playoff run in the rookie season. Who knows? But at the same time, with 6 to 8, if things are looking good, I'm happy. But anyway, going back to the positional battles with the quarterback, like what Jeremy pointed out, because we deviated a little bit. So going back to the quarterback, it could be James Morgan. I mean, again, check out the footage. Hell of a deep ball. Kid throws an amazing deep ball. Excellent deep ball. Great arm strength. But I liked, again, it's only a little bit. We only got to see a little bit of, what the media got to see. But from what I saw, I liked what I saw in Mike White. I liked the footwork, the anticipation. He looked confident in the pocket. So, excuse me, I think that would be interesting. We got Gotham Green. Man, who knows? I mean, that's just exciting. 17-0, take it to the Super Bowl, win it all, be the rookie quarterback that does it. Man, I mean, it's optimistic, but God bless you. That's the way I look at it, bro. God bless you. I mean, you got to aim big. I say it all the time. Be optimistic. Who wants to, go through it saying, oh, we can't win or we can't do this or this guy stinks? You guys see it all the time. You guys see it on social media. The people that are always, tweeting the negative, no matter what it is. I like to look at it positively. I believe, man. I didn't really believe when Gase was there. If you remember, my focus was all about Douglas. It was all about how Joe Douglas is the right piece. But now it's all right. Now things are exciting and things are right. So on to those again. Positional battles, talk about quarterback, could be White, could be Morgan, or like Saleh said, you're bringing a veteran. Definitely an option. If you don't like what you see in either of them halfway through training camp, or hell, even when the preseason starts, you can make a move, maybe make a trade. I don't like the Nick Foles trade. I just want to throw that out. I feel like Foles had his opportunity with the Rams and failed. He's an okay quarterback / system quarterback. I think he did really well in the system he was in. But if you want a veteran that you can, mentor Wilson and plug and play into the system, I don't know how I feel on Foles. I'll be honest. I'm a little iffy. So I'm not thrilled on that trade. I'm really, really not. But we have the option. So a veteran could be brought in again in training camp. A veteran can be brought in the preseason if they don't like what they see. But maybe, again, when the pads go on, maybe one shows up. So that's the interesting quarterback two positional battle we're going to be watching. Either if one of those guys in White or Morgan step up and become that guy, or a veteran is brought into the system to be that guy. So next positional battle we're going to move to is moving behind the quarterback into the backfield. And that's an interesting positional battle because right now our running back committee is wide open. It's wide open. It is completely open for the taking for anybody who wants it. And as you guys know, as I pointed out to you, I love that shit. I love when you have enough talent in a room where, okay, you don't have one superstar, but you have 5 talented guys, and it's who wants it most. That's it. Who wants to step up? Who wants it most? In fact, as a tribute to that, I'll show you guys, I got my Leon Washington jersey on. This is my old school Leon Washington jersey from back in the day, guys. So just pointing out that running back option, because that's exciting to me right now. That's totally wide open to potentially what can happen there. I like Michael Carter, as you guys know, as I pointed out, totally slept on because of Javonte Williams. This kid had just as many carries as Javonte, yet had more yards and a higher yard per carry in his senior year. In fact, he was one of the best running backs. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I think he was like the 4th best rusher in all of the NCAA last year. His numbers are awesome. He's massively slept on. Could have gone in the 2nd round, maybe even 3rd. Well, definitely should have gone in the 3rd, but could have potentially gone in the 2nd. I like him as running back 1. As you guys know, I've been tweeting about him a lot. Every time I tweet him out, RB1. That's it, because I like that kid. That kid, again, totally slept on. As you remember, I pointed out the patience. The patience is the beauty of him. He's got a hard, quick running style. He's very agile, but a good punch for his size. But you got Ty Johnson. You remember last year, I pointed it out that Ty Johnson and Josh Adams were both excellent last year. They just didn't get the ball. You guys remember I pointed that out, how Ty Johnson and Josh Adams had awesome yards per carry. They had awesome receiving yards per carry. Their numbers, our averages were amazing, but they were averaging like 1 or 2 freaking yards a carry because of Adam Gase. I don't even want to say his name. It's like I'm getting sick. Adam Gase wanting to give the ball to freaking 1,000-year-old Frank Gore, even though Johnson and Adams both look damn good. So Ty Johnson, Josh Adams, right now they're a little more of a dark horse, especially Josh Adams. Josh Adams, we haven't heard anything from. So he's an interesting dark horse because as you guys might remember, I felt like Adams was even better. If you looked at the average, the numbers, the ability, Adams I felt was actually better than Ty Johnson last year, again, in a limited sample size, but better. So Adams is a complete dark horse. He could come out of nowhere. Ty Johnson right now looks to be behind Tevin Coleman, which isn't the worst thing in the world. When Le'Veon Bell went free agency a couple years back, I actually really liked Tevin Coleman. I liked him as an option as well. Again, I can't even say I'm going to agree with Gase because apparently Gase wanted Tevin Coleman and didn't want Bell. He was kind of spot on. He kind of hit the nail right in the head, so to speak. Hate to give him any credit, but I can't even thinking about it. Oof, just getting sick even thinking about the fact that I gave him credit. Oh my God. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, but it's true. So Tevin Coleman could be that running back too. But what's beauty of him is he's an excellent pass catching back as well. In fact, even though Michael Carter is a good pass catching back, Tevin Coleman is probably the best pass catching back in the backfield. So this makes an interesting combination. You got, again, Michael Carter, who I believe it was Zachary pointing out on Michael Carter needs to be running back 1. Man, I'm with you. That kid's got unbelievable potential. Again, could have been a second-round pick, just as good as Javonte, because he's on the smaller side. People didn't look at him as much. But I'll tell you right now, as you guys remember, I pointed out how when I do my eval, I don't look at size. I don't get caught up in that because you miss out on, guys like Hamilcar Vachette. You miss out on, Frankie Louvu like last year, as we've talked about. Certain quarterbacks like Kyler Murray. I try not to get caught up in that, the measurables. But if you watch Michael Carter, dude, he hit just as hard as Javonte, if not harder. I think he was a harder hitter than Javonte at about 10 to 15 pounds less than Javonte. And again, he had more yards and a higher average. So this kid, RB1, I love that. But as Jeremy points out again, we just got so much damn potential back there. You got LaMichael Pirine. Pirine's back there too. What I thought was interesting was, if you guys remember, I tweeted it out. I think it was like a month ago or so. Saleh was talking about the positional group in OTAs, and he mentioned a handful of running backs, which is interesting because if he only mentioned some and not others, interesting to notice who he mentions. And one guy he mentioned was LaMichael Pirine. And what he said about Pirine was he called him a power back. And that surprised me because, as you guys remember, my big knock on Pirine was that he's not the smallest dude, but he's kind of like right in the middle. And again, I don't hate him. I want to throw that out because some people think I hate him. I don't hate LaMichael Pirine. In fact, this is my message to him because I look at Pirine and this is what I personally see. I see a guy that's just too small to be a power back. Again, Robert Saleh is calling him a power back, so maybe he's going to prove me wrong. And if he wants to prove me wrong, damn, I hope he does. I love that. Prove me wrong. Kick ass next year, LaMichael Pirine. But in my opinion, he's a little small to be a power back. I'd rather have a guy like, Josh Adams, who was excellent last year and is about 10 pounds more, give or take, and much stronger and bigger as my power back. Now, he's definitely not a speed back, and he's definitely not an elusive back. So my advice to Pirine is to either get to those speed and agility drills and shed a little weight and get a little faster, or hit the gym. Hit the gym, bro. Pound it every single day. Put on like 5 to 10 pounds of muscle. Beef up a little bit. But again, Saleh called him a power back. And who am I to question Robert Saleh? So Robert Saleh said LaMichael Pirine is a power back. So according to him, he's our power back. So you have Pirine, who's being called the power back. You have Josh Adams, who is a power back, who are both total dark horses right now because of how deep this running back committee is. Because you have Michael Carter, you have Tevin Coleman, and you have Ty Johnson. So that talent right there, plus those two dark horse guys in the power, that's 5 running backs all right now competing for that spot. So this is excellent. This is exactly what you want. You want running backs that are versatile. You want running backs that, like Jeremy pointed out, having a power in the mix, which again, I think Adams can be. But still, that's going to be an interesting positional battle. And that's going to be one of the more interesting ones to watch because most of the other ones I'm going to mention to you guys are like 1 or 2 dudes, maybe 1 or 2 dudes vying for a position. This, wide open, like I said before, completely wide open. Right now, our running back committee is open to whoever's hungriest. I think it's going to be Michael Carter. Again, then I think, Tevin Coleman and Ty Johnson are going to battle it out for the next spot. But any of the 5 guys we mentioned, it's theirs. It's theirs if they want it. So, and like Jeremy points out, we're definitely taking 4 considering Coleman's injury history. Of course, man, hell, depending how they formulate this, maybe they keep all 5. I mean, I think that's crazy. I think it's crazy to keep all 5, but who the hell knows? The point is you have options. So definitely keeping 4. I think without question, they're going to keep 4 of them, but one of them is getting cut. I would have P. Ryan as the odd man looking out. A lot of more people feel like Adams is the odd man looking out. Again, anybody's game right now. So let's now move to wide receiver. At wide receiver, the next skill position for our rookie quarterback. Because like we said, our QB1 is set. Our QB1 is Zach Wilson, the rookie with all the freaking potential in the world, the potential to be absolutely great. And how are you going to make him great? You're going to give him a great head coach that knows what he's doing, that coordinates the player's strengths, not like a guy that tries to fit a freaking round peg into a square hole. Like, crazy. And builds a talented team around him, puts talent on that team. And that's what we're doing. Because last year, our wide receiver 1 was Brashad Perriman. I feel like you guys know that sound clip, the womp, womp, womp. I feel like that should be playing like when I say our wide receiver 1 was Brashad Perriman. Womp, womp, womp. Like, that's what I'm thinking. Like, that's not a wide receiver 1. But our wide receiver 1 is now Corey Davis. Man, you gave your rookie quarterback a backfield of 5 guys, all hungry, who wants it, and now you got Corey Davis, wide receiver 1. That's penciled in. He's wide receiver 1. But wide receiver 2, as you guys remember we talked about, that's an interesting conversation. We don't have to get into the whole thing because you guys remember we talked all about it. If you guys didn't see it, check it out. It was a couple podcasts back. But I talked about Keelan Cole and what, Connor Hughes has said to me, what DJ had said to me about the fact that the Jets have been trying to get Cole for a while, about he's more of a fit in the system. That's going to be interesting to watch. So that is going to also be one of the more interesting positional battles to watch in training camp, is going to be that wide receiver 2 position. Because as we saw, we all were under the impression, including me, I was under the impression that Mims was running with the 2s because he was hurt. But when he got back, that wasn't the case. It was still Keelan Cole. As you guys remember, I said, I'm ready for whoever wants to step up. I want a team around our rookie quarterback. Remember, I said, other than Zach Wilson, everything's wide open, in my opinion. Everything is. Whoever's hungriest, whoever wants it, come get it. Because we need to compete, and we need a talented team. Keelan Cole or Denzel Mims. It's going to be one of them, and it's going to be interesting to watch. So it's going to be interesting to watch the bet between these 2 guys. So Zachary points out, the Mims hype is done with. I think it's interesting, and I think it's just, when you look at narratives and the way stories go, because last year, remember, Mims was the guy. Mims was the guy we took in the 2nd round, all the potential in the world, could be a wide receiver 1, should have been a 1st-round draft pick, really, really excellent. He was hurt, but most guys are hurt their rookie year. Remember, I pointed that out. I talked about how most guys are hurt their rookie year. A lot of players get banged up. It's a big transition going from college to the NFL. Are they going to continue to get banged up and stay banged up? That's the $1 million question. But most rookies get banged up one way or another. And a hamstring injury is a lingering injury. You don't come back from that easily. And Mims hurt them both. That dude, both of his hamstrings were down. So I'd said, during the offseason, before all of this going on, before we got Cole and drafted more, I was saying, and before we even got Corey Davis, I was saying that Denzel Mims could be a wide receiver 1. And it's definitely still possible. I mean, the talk of the town, the reason, again, don't want to get too into it, but going back to the Cole Mims situation, the argument was that Mims wasn't the greatest route runner. And if you're not a great route runner, there's no way you're going to be a wide receiver one. I mean, not on a team like Corey Davis and with Keelan Cole, who's right now beating you out. So you're not going to be a wide receiver one if you don't have the best route tree. And that seems to be the talk, that he seems to be more of what Connor Hughes called a quote unquote linear player, and that's not him. And that Cole is a much better route runner. Corey Davis is one of the best route runners, but the best part is Elijah Moore, guys. We're going to get to him. He's the best route runner on the team, and he's a freaking rookie. This kid's going to be great. But back to that wide receiver 2 position. So like Zach says, he feels like the hype is done with. Jeremy points out, don't sleep on Mims. He has a ton of talent. I think it's going to be interesting because, again, I thought, Joe Douglas just drafted Denzel Mims last year, right? Joe Douglas just drafted Denzel Mims last year in the 2nd round, and he was supposed to be a 1st-round pick. I mean, we talked about why Joe was going to move on at quarterback. It made a lot of sense, not just because Sam was bad, and not just that Zach had all this potential, but also because he wasn't his guy. Mims was his guy. But again, as you guys remember, I pointed out the breaking news was that shout out to Steven. Steven's hype, man. Steven's got the JTFU going. Steven's hyped. Love it, Steven. Love it. But Keelan Cole, totally, I saw that in all caps and it took me off. All I saw was that. I love it, man. Love it. Love the hype. Love that you guys are psyched. But back to, Mims and Keelan Cole. So when you look at Keelan Cole, he has that better route tree. That's what's said about him. And Mims, again, is that linear player. So it's interesting. It's really interesting to see what's going on here. So I personally, like I said, it could be anybody's battle right now. It could be anybody's game. Corey Davis, penciled in at wide receiver 1. Cole, back to what I was saying before. So the Jets, as you remember, Hughes broke it. Hughes said it in a tweet. He was responding to me and said that the Jets have been actively trying to get Keelan Cole for the last 2 years, which is huge. Because again, the argument was Mims is Joe's guy. He drafted this guy just last year and very high. But Joe's also only been the GM of the Jets for 2 years. And they say the Jets have been trying to acquire Keelan Cole for 2 years. That means as long as Joe's been here, he's been trying to get Keelan Cole. So Keelan Cole is just as much a Joe Douglas guy as Denzel Mims. And that's what I needed to convince myself of to understand this. Because again, I kept coming back to, we just drafted Denzel Mims, and he's got a ton of potential. And yes, he definitely does. And if he wants to step up, he can. That's, again, the beauty of it. Like, remember I mentioned before, it's anybody's game. Who wants it? If you want to be the guy, step the hell up and become the guy. This is your time. This is your chance. But right now, Keelan Cole is being called the infinitely better route runner than Denzel Mims. He looks really good as a wide receiver too. And as you guys remember, when we signed him, I kept pointing out this dude had highlight reel catches. Like Keelan Cole made catches, had flashes where he looked like a wide receiver 1. Like, not all the time, but he made these ridiculous spin around grabs, one-handed catches, diving catches where he rolls. The dude legitimately at times looked like a wide receiver 1, which is very interesting. So that 2 position, totally open right now. Keelan Cole or Denzel Mims. One of you. One of you guys can get it. Who's going to get it? But Corey's that one. In the slot man, dude, I love how beautiful we are in the interior of the field right now. I mean, we were beautiful with Elijah Moore, the potential of him. We brought back Jamison Crowder. Jamison Crowder, I didn't think was going to go anywhere. You guys remember I said I was surprised he took a cut. From what I understand, I'm not the best with the money, I'll be honest. I didn't look into it as much, but I spoke with my buddy Jimmy. You guys know, Jets by Jimmy, and he pointed out that it wasn't much of a cut. He said that it wasn't much of a cut, and what it did was it transferred more of the money to guaranteed, which makes sense to me because, again, Jamison Crowder's legit. You guys remember, I was saying this back a couple, I think it was, back like March, beginning of March, when people were saying we should get Curtis Samuel and cut Jamison Crowder. And I'm just like, what? Wait a minute. No, that doesn't make sense. Jamison Crowder has been one of the best slot wide receivers in the NFL since joining the NFL, his whole career. And he's been our best wide receiver the last 2 years. Now you guys know all about Elijah Moore. Not much needs to be said about him. I've tweeted all about Elijah Moore. The numbers, the insanity of what he did with perfect red zone, 25 for 25, the amazing yards, best in the slot. Elijah Moore has the potential to be a superstar. I don't even have to go into it because, as you guys know, I've talked about it like crazy. And like Jeremy's saying, I already ordered my Elijah Moore jersey. I got my Elijah Moore jersey. I'm ready. He's got his new Wilson jersey. I love it, bro. I absolutely love it. Love it, Jeremy. But Elijah Moore, man. And like Zach points out, I'd like to see Moore get a couple more snaps than Crowder. It's going to happen. I mean, it may not happen immediately because, again, Jameson is the proven veteran. Elijah's looked amazing in OTAs, and so is Berrios. But they've looked good because Jameson hasn't been there. That was all voluntary. He didn't need to be there. Everyone's freaking out. He's sitting out. You can't sit out voluntary stuff. It doesn't work like that. This is the mandatory stuff now. So he's going to be back, and it's going to be exciting. So Matthias points out, the chemistry between Moore and Zach. It's going to be interesting. Zach might develop great chemistry with Corey Davis, Jamison Crowder. The point is he has options. Maybe Corey Davis becomes his number one guy. Maybe Crowder becomes his number one guy for a while. Don't forget, guys, Crowder, again, has been great for us. We remember everything Crowder's been. But Elijah Moore, very soon, I don't know if it's going to be immediately, because, again, Crowder's really good. But Elijah Moore is eventually going to become a big part of this offense, a huge part of this offense. Because, again, we've talked about the numbers. I don't need to keep going through them. You guys know all about them. I've tweeted all about it. Elijah Moore is unbelievable. Elijah Moore is going to be, has the potential, is a better way to put it, has the potential to be unbelievably great. Really has that potential. Really, really does. He's one of the best wide receivers in this draft, easily the best slot wide receiver in this draft. He has the potential to be unbelievable. And then who do we have in depth? We have Berrios. We have possibly the two Smiths, Jeff and Vincent Smith, depending who wants to step up. I hoped we had Lawrence Cager. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. I hope he gets healthy. Good luck to him. But there's some other guys, a lot of other guys we don't know about. So we're going to have to see. So that's wide receiver. And what's important there, again, is we have a rookie quarterback. And our rookie quarterback, we want him to succeed. And how do you help your quarterback to succeed? Obviously, you put him in a system that accentuates his strengths, personifies what he's good at, puts him in good situations, puts a talented team around him. That's what Joe Douglas is doing. And that's what Robert Saleh is doing. That's exactly what they're doing. And we just talked about it with all that potential in the backfield and all that potential at wide receiver. We said Corey Davis penciled in, Cole and Mims competing for that other spot. The slot looks unbelievable. A big question mark, though, talking about receiver options, is tight end. Tight end's an interesting one to get into. So I think you guys remember we talked about tight end a little while back. My take on it was Chris Herndon right now, not only may, people wonder, is he going to not be a starter? Forget being a starter. I don't even know if he's going to make this team. I really, really don't know if he's going to make this team. So Ripper points out the O-line. Shout out to Ripper. We're going to get to that O-line. We're going to talk about that next. But quick with the tight end. Chris Herndon is in a contract year. And when you're in a contract year, that's the year you're supposed to step up. Look at Corey Davis. Corey Davis stepped up big and had his best season in a contract year. Why? Because you want to get paid. You expect that from everybody, that even if they didn't do well the other years, they're going to do well in a contract year. Well, Chris Herndon is in his contract year, and he's been dropping balls. You guys remember, in OTAs, every time we heard him, half the time he was dropping balls until the fact where he was starting to run with the twos. So the other person we heard as much as the other person we heard as much as Chris Herndon was Tyler Kroft and Ryan Griffin. Those were the other two guys we heard just as much as Chris Herndon getting receiver potential. But what's interesting is, as I mentioned to you guys before, we talk about wanting to be able to block better and having a running game. I tweeted it out not too long back. It was a quote from Mike LaFleur. I don't have it in front of me, but basically the quote from Mike LaFleur was that our offense is prided on the run game. We need a run game that can be good to open up deep passes. That's basically what Mike LaFleur said. And if you want a good run game, you better have a damn good hole for that running back to run through. You need a good offensive line. So the beauty of Tyler Kroft is he's one of the better blocking tight ends in the NFL. In fact, Tyler Kroft has been praised by offensive linemen for his blocking ability. And that's pretty impressive for a tight end to be praised by offensive linemen for their blocking ability. So that's an interesting situation. Kroft, it was a couple years back. He had a 400-yard season, 7 touchdown season. maybe him and Ryan Griffin are going to be the guys. Because again, as we saw before he got hurt, Ryan Griffin looked really good for the Jets. You guys remember he had that year we had over 300 yards. He looked really good. So with Herndon not looking good, it kind of looks like Tyler Kroft and Ryan Griffin are going to be our two tight ends. Now, our third tight end, think about Kenny Yabo for a second. Kenny Yabo was surprisingly one undrafted. He was the second best receiver option on Ole Miss next to Elijah Moore last year. So I don't know if he's going to pass through waivers. And the Jets may not be confident that Kenny Yabo is going to pass through waivers. So if they're not confident Yabo is going to pass through waivers, with Herndon looking as bad as he is, you don't really keep more than 3 tight ends. So again, if Kroft and Griffin have been the 2 best looking tight ends, and it just happens that they can block, and you're afraid Yabo is not going to make it through waivers, Chris Herndon's gone. That's it. So there's a good chance. Again, forget starting. There's a good chance Chris Herndon could be a surprise cut. He could be a surprise cut. Now, like Ripper pointed out, let's get to that offensive line, guys. Let's talk about that freaking offensive line, because that offensive line is exciting. We got our left tackle, our bookend, Mekhi Becton. Mekhi Becton is amazing. Not much needs to be said about him. The kid should have been an all-pro in his rookie year. As you guys remember, this is the tackle I wanted. This is the guy I was like, forget Andrew Thomas, forget Wirfs. Everyone wanted Wirfs. This was my guy. Mekhi Becton was my guy. Because for his unbelievable ability with his strength, his just ability to dominate people, because he's so big and strong that he just puts people down. He's a pancake king. He's a pancake king in this league. He's also unbelievably athletic. His combination of athleticism with his strength and size is unbelievably rare, incredibly rare. Because at his size, he's as athletic and as fast and as quick as linemen 100 pounds less than him, as linemen that are like 280, 290. Excuse me. He is just as athletic as them. So this kid, people were talking about him needing to lose weight. He didn't need to lose a damn pound. He had an injury that unfortunately had nothing to do with weight. Plantar fasciitis can happen to anybody. He just needs to get healthy. He needs to make sure his foot heals. He needs to make sure it's ready to go. He needs to make sure that there's no issues. That's why Salah sat him, and I thought that was crazy. Last year, guys, we had the issue where Mekhi kept getting hurt because freaking Adam Gase, and I said his name again, and I'm so angry that I said it. Freaking Adam Gase, kept putting him in when he was hurt and letting him re-injure that shoulder. That's why he was hurt all last year. That's why he kept getting hurt. It's because he kept getting put back in, because what did he say? He wanted to go back out. Of course the guy wants to go back out. We've seen dudes, remember back in the 90s, knocked out. They're literally bleeding out the side of their head, and they're trying to walk back on the field. Man, they're always going to go back out there. You can't let them go back out there. So that was disgraceful. That's why he was hurt all last year. Not because he couldn't get healthy, because he didn't get a chance to get healthy. He has an injury right now. What's Salah doing? Salah's saying, let's let him get healthy. That's what Salah's saying. Salah's saying it's OTAs. It's not even training camp. It doesn't matter. Let him get healthy. And people were freaking out. Remember, people were freaking out. Oh, he's not playing. He's not out there. Guys, we're getting what we wanted. We can't have it both ways. Last year, we had the player being thrown into the fire consistently again and again and again and keep getting hurt. Now they're doing it the right way. They're allowing him to heal. There's no competition. There's no freaking competition at left tackle. Mekhi Becton is the blindside left tackle. Let him get healthy, guys. Let him get right. Let him get ready. Because when he's ready, we talked about that unbelievable size topped with that unbelievable athleticism. As I pointed out, the reason I wanted him, his technique. His technique wasn't praised enough. All everyone talked about was how big and huge and massive and fast he was. But people kept forgetting his technique because of that. Because he was so unbelievably prototypical, they forgot about his technique. Mekhi Becton has excellent technique. His footwork, his handwork, his body placement, his angling, the way he positions himself is perfect. He has excellent. Again, should have been an all-pro last year. AVT, like Ripper points out, Becton next to AVT, I think it was Daniel Jeremiah who said it best. Daniel Jeremiah said, with Becton and AVT on one side, teams are going to be coming down on that left side of the line like an avalanche. That's literally what he said, and he's right. Teams are going to need to scheme for that. Even before we got Moses, before we got him, I was saying the right side was going to open up a little bit because that right side, everyone's going to be breaking onto that left side. People are going to be coming in like an avalanche. They're going to be making up for that, unbelievable ability of Becton and AVT. They're going to be compensating for it. So it would have made it easier to run to the right. Now you got Morgan Moses there. Now you have another top right tackle. And we look at Morgan Moses, guys, we all wanted him, and we all wanted him for a reason. Morgan Moses has been consistently one of the better right tackles in the league. He's consistently been, in his time in the NFL, one of the better right tackles in the NFL. And in fact, he had his best season just last year, with an 80.6 overall grade and an 86 run blocking grade. 86 run blocking grade. This dude's a great run blocker. So we talked about AVT. Again, this kid, you guys know all the stats I pointed out on him. Pass blocking grade last year of 92.8. Best passing and run blocking guard in the Pac-12. First team all Pac-12. He was one of the best linemen in the draft, arguably one of the best linemen, without question the best guard. Getting AVT, as I remember, this is the best way to think of it, the way I'd said it. Getting AVT is just like when the Colts got Quentin Nelson. It's like when Washington got Brandon Scherf. That's the quality of offensive lineman we got here. Because remember, I said we had to trade up because this kid's a top 15 talent. We had to trade up into the top 15 to get him. Well, Joe Douglas, remember, took it a step further, said he's a top 10 talent. So again, think of it just like Quentin Nelson. Think of it just like Brandon Scherf. So you got your Mekhi Becton, your all-pro right there on the left side. You got AVT, this Quentin Nelson type right there at left guard. Moses on the other side, that elite Morgan Moses. Man, Morgan Moses looks great. Is going to be great. The only question marks are right guard and center. So that brings us back to the positional battles. So going back to positional battles, at center, there's no battle there. It's going to be Connor McGovern. And you guys know how I feel on that. Connor McGovern was one of the better centers in the NFL the last, couple of years. Sorry, my apologies. Connor McGovern was the top 10 center in the NFL the second half of last season, but he was also one of the worst centers in the NFL for the first half of the season. That's not consistency I like for my center. You guys know I've talked about it, the years of Nick Mangold, the great centers we've had, the Schmitz, all of them. I'm trying to think of the names, blanking right now for some reason. So many great centers, so many. And that's just not good enough for me. Being great in the second half and not good for the first. The hope is with all this talent around him that he steps it up and gets better. Remember, that was my take on him. That hopefully he plays like he did toward the second half of the season. He plays better with more talent around him. But that's still a question mark. Right guard, though. Right guard is going to be an interesting positional battle. And the interesting thing about right guard, it could be George Fant. Again, a lot of people don't look at it that way, but it could be. Right now, it's Greg Van Roten, which makes a lot of sense. Because you guys remember how I felt about Van Roten. He's like the opposite of Alex Lewis in every way. He's a technician, great handwork, great footwork, good body placement, plays well. But unlike Lewis, who's just a brute, really, just a strength guy. What I like about with Van Roten, he could be the guy. Now, there's a couple of guys we have, undrafted guys like Tristan Hodge, who really stepped up big in OTAs, but we haven't heard from him since. We didn't hear about him in minicamp. We didn't hear that much in OTAs after we saw a little bit from him. It's going to be interesting to see what the pads go on. What most likely is going to happen is these undrafted offensive linemen are probably destined for the practice squad. That's where we're probably going to see these guys. The Parker, I'm blanking on the name right now. Hodge was one of them. There was a few other, started with a T. I don't know why I'm blanking on it right now. But those undrafted offensive linemen are most likely destined for the practice squad, which, like Matthias points out, depth's important. Man, depth's important, which is why you can't knock the Dan Feeney signing. So we all love Dan Feeney for his attitude. Dan Feeney, he's smashing beers on his head. He's all psyched up. He's rallying everybody. People love his energy. That's great. But another important fact about Dan Feeney, he's played every game he's ever played in. Dan Feeney has always been healthy and always played in every game that he's played in. He's never gotten hurt. Don't want to jinx him, but that's been a fact. So when you have a team, where depth is important, it's important to make sure you have guys like that. So guys like Dan Feeney, he's obviously, going to be a depth piece most likely. Wirfs could potentially be a depth piece, but most likely practice squad. Guys like Parker, practice squad. Most likely the depth is going to be Alex Lewis, probably, interestingly enough, just because I saw him at left tackle, which to me is more important a position, I could see McDermott beating out Chuma Edoga at tackle. That'd be my interesting take. I could see Connor McDermott beating out Chuma Edoga as a tackle. Yeah. So going back to the right guard position for a sec, because we were talking about that. That's a positional battle because it should be Greg Van Roten. It could be Alex Lewis. I kind of hope it isn't. It could be Alex Lewis, but also it could also be George Fant. I mean, remember, even though George Fant's a better offensive tackle, he is one of the most athletic offensive linemen in the NFL. Kid's crazy athletic, which is why, if you guys remember, my interesting take was if Van Roten beats him out at right guard, I kind of want to use Fant as like one of those, like a Croft almost. I kind of want to use Fant as an inline blocking tight end that maybe goes out for a short pass. Maybe goes out for a 1-2 yard pass, maybe goes out for a pass on the goal line. I mean, the dude's 315, I think, ish pounds, give or take, and he's fast. He's very athletic for an offensive lineman. So that's an interesting situation. That'd be interesting. So at right guard, it could be Fant. I mean, again, give him the opportunity. That's the way I look at it. Why not give him a shot? Let him compete for that position. So it's most likely going to be between Fant and Greg Van Roten. But it could be Alex Lewis, and it could be somebody else. So that right guard spot is the interesting positional battle to watch on that offensive line. Everything else is set. Becton set as the left tackle, which is why, again, let the dude get healthy. If his foot's not okay, what the hell are we rushing him out to practice for? He's freaking legit. So let Becton get healthy. AVT is the left guard. McGovern's at center. Moses is going to be a tackle. That right guard is the question mark. That's going to be right now who's going to play that position. Most likely Van Roten. And again, if that's the case, I like Fant as the swing option, man. I really do. I like Fant as the, blocking on the goal line, maybe going out for a short pass. Who knows? An inline blocking tight end option. I like that potentially for Fant. That could be very, very interesting. Especially helps the run game. So, but again, you also have Croft, who is one of the better blocking tight ends in the NFL. So we spin it around. We spin it to the defense now. So let's talk about the defensive line. Now, as we know, and as I've pointed out, and many others have as well, the most important thing about a Robert Saleh defense is the front seven, not the back seven. Well, we're kind of counting the linebackers altogether, in a way. So let's take the linebackers out for a second. Not counting the secondary, the pass rush is infinitely more important in a Robert Saleh defense. Because as I pointed out, Robert Saleh's defenses with the 49ers have always been top of the NFL at the end of the season when it comes to quarterback hurries, when it comes to getting into the backfield and, just pressuring the quarterback to make him make a bad decision, to make him make a bad move, whatever it is, to force the throw, to take pressure off the cornerbacks. That's what it does. So it's all about the front seven. And like Matthias says, our front D is going to be freaking deadly, man. That thing's going to be deadly. So we've been here a while. I'm not going to get into all the stats because if I get into all the stats, we'll be here for 4 years. So you guys know all the stats I mentioned about Carl Lawson. He's the guy. Carl Lawson is the elite edge rusher we've been looking for since John Abraham. This is a top-notch NFL edge rusher, one of the best or better NFL edge rushers in the league right now. So he's penciled in at one end. On the other end, could be Bryce Huff. You guys remember I had him on the show the other day. Remember just last week, Bryce Huff was talking about how he's working on being that hand-in-the-dirt edge rusher, that he did that for the majority of his career. Remember, he said that he was a hand-in-the-dirt edge rusher for the majority of his career, and that's where he thrived the most, and he likes that position. I like him a lot. You guys know how I feel about him. I thought he shouldn't have gone undrafted. I really liked his potential. He could definitely be the guy. But we also got Vinny Curry. Remember, don't sleep on Curry. Huff talked about him, but not just Huff, John Franklin Myers. Remember, I had John Franklin Myers on the week before. Remember, John talked all about that defensive line. John talked about how awesome Carl Lawson is, how awesome Quinnen is, how awesome everybody is. But remember when he got to Vinny. When he got to Vinny, remember, John said that Vinny Curry has the best get-off he's ever seen in his life. He said Vinny Curry's got the fastest get-off he's ever seen. And the dude's 33 years old. Vinny Curry's 33 years old, but don't forget last year at 32, he had 10 quarterback hits. That would have ranked third on our team behind John Franklin Myers and Quinnen Williams. Would have been above everybody else at 32 years old. So don't sleep on Vinny Curry. Don't sleep on Vinny at all. So you got Carl Lawson, who's, again, the best edge rusher we've had since John Abraham. You got Vinny Curry, who's totally slept on, still plays at a high level. You got Huff with his potential. You got, excuse me, you have Jabari Zuniga. You have Jabari Zuniga. He's got potential. He's more of a sleeper because, again, I see it with, Lawson being the guy, Curry most likely being the guy, Huff potentially subbing in, but maybe Zuniga subs in as well. Now, for the interior, as you guys remember, when I did have John Franklin Myers on, he talked about how he can play both. He talked about how he played outside on the majority of his career, but when he switched to the inside, it was different for him, but he thrived. He was amazing. You guys remember last year on the interior, he was awesome. He was great. He put up best numbers of his career. So John Franklin Myers could potentially be an edge. He could definitely be potentially on that edge with Lawson, with Curry, with Huff, with Zuniga, but I see him on the inside because Sheldon Rankins. We're all excited about his signing, but he is a question mark. We have to remember that Sheldon Rankins was a first-round pick and was basically supposed to be as good as Quinnen was, and he wasn't. He hadn't been. So he'd been good. He had one good year with 8 sacks, and he's had a couple of good years since, and he's definitely talented. Don't get me wrong. Sheldon Rankins is definitely talented, but Franklin Myers could beat him out. So the one penciled in on the interior is Quinnen. That's not a positional battle at all. So Quinnen Williams penciled in, defensive interior lineman number 1. He's going to be amazing. He was excellent last year. Finally came on when he was playing on the interior, playing correctly, playing where he's supposed to play. On that interior, he was great. He was one of the best defensive interior linemen in the entire NFL last year, and he's just starting. So he's penciled in as defensive interior guy 1. After that, it's going to be between Franklin Myers and Sheldon Rankins. But don't forget, you also have Foley Fatukasi. Again, depth. Matthias pointed it out before. Depth is so important. There's so much talent and so much depth on this team. We're mentioning all these guys. We're just getting to Foley now. And Foley is an up-and-coming star. Foley had a grade of 81 PFF in his second year, and he had an 80 grade last year. Foley Fatukasi is a very underappreciated run stopper in the NFL with a decent pass rush. He's an okay pass rusher, but he's a pretty damn good run blocker. In fact, he's one of the best run stuffers in the NFL, arguably, you could say, if you look at him just in that category. So Foley, up-and-coming star. You got Nathan Shepard. He's looked really good. Remember, he was starting to come on last year as a pass rusher. He looked really good as a pass rusher on the interior of that defense, teamed up with Quinnen. He really did. In fact, he had good numbers last year. I think he had about 5 QB hits, give or take. So that's interesting. And then we also have the rookie. We have the rookie, Jonathan Marshall. Remember, Jonathan Marshall broke the whole thing with a 99th percentile defensive interior lineman rank. The dude put up 36 bench press reps and was also one of the fastest defensive interior guys there was. So lots of potential there, guys. We talk about this defensive line. Again, a Robert Saleh defense is all about that defensive front 7. That's what it's all about. Secondary, it's important, but it's all about that defensive front 7. That's what it's about. And that line, we just talked about it. We talked about Quinnen Williams. It's going to be unbelievable. Plug-and-play defensive interior 1. Franklin Myers or Sheldon Rankins as the second guy, or Foley, or Nathan Shepard. And then on the edge, you got Carl Lawson, who's going to be unbelievable. You guys remember the numbers, the 64 QB pressures, the 32 QB hits. It's insane. Carl Lawson is the best edge rusher we've ever had since Jonathan Abraham. We got him. We got Vinny Curry, who, as I mentioned, unbelievably slept on. Remember, like John said, best get-off he's ever seen and hasn't lost a step. We have an exciting front 7. And that's just at the crushing the quarterback. Now let's talk about linebacker. So at linebacker, Matthias points it out, C.J. Mosley. And I tweeted it out earlier today. I was actually going to read it for you guys. So Bart Scott had an interview. And in an interview, Bart Scott was asked about C.J. Mosley, and this is what he had to say. Bart Scott says he thinks he feels like C.J. Mosley owes Jet fan base a lot. He wants to remind people who he is. He's an alpha male who's going to lead these dogs. He's been taught by some of the best in the business. He's a top 5 linebacker in this league, and you're going to remember who he is. Man, that coming from Bart Scott, I was like, oh man, where do I sign up? Like that was Bart Scott's can't wait speech. Like that was like, can't wait. Like I was like, this is it. Like he's reminding everybody. He's reminding everyone who CJ Mosley is. So again, Mosley is a question mark because we haven't seen him in 2 years. But if he comes in at the level he did in 2019 for that 2-3 quarters, he's going to be unbelievable. He's going to be amazing. So if we have what CJ Mosley was supposed to be, look out NFL. Just like Bart Scott said, just like he said. This guy was taught by the best. He's an alpha dog. He's the top 5 linebacker in the NFL. And he said he's going to remind people who he is. So that is exciting. Let's see. But like PK Ripper points out, we have Jarrad Davis. And Jarrad Davis is another interesting story because Jarrad Davis is just like Sheldon Rankins. Jarrad Davis was a first-round pick in 2017, just like Rankins. If you think about it, it's actually kind of cool. Joe Douglas signed 3 first-round picks from the 2017 draft. He signed Corey Davis, Sheldon Rankins, and Jarrad Davis. All 3 of them. All 3 were first-round picks from 2017. And Corey Davis got the big money. But Rankins and Jarrad Davis didn't. Because Davis, even worse than, Sheldon Rankins. So Sheldon Rankins, like we said, wasn't bad. I mean, he wasn't great. He wasn't what he was supposed to be. He was basically supposed to be a Quinnen Williams. And he wasn't. But he wasn't bad. Jarrad Davis was bad. We have to call a spade a spade. And remember, this is the reason I said the Jets needed to draft 2 linebackers. This is the reason I said we needed 2. Because Jarrad Davis was bad. We took a flyer on Jarrad Davis because over his 4 years in the NFL, his PFF ratings were like 40 point something, 50 point something. In fact, I think 60.3 was his highest rating of all the 4 years. Like it wasn't good. But again, he was drafted in the first round because he was supposed to be great. Tom points it out. Davis was a bad scheme fit. That's supposed to be the belief. That's what we're, wanting. That's the hope. That's what we're hoping, that Jarrad Davis didn't fit well in that system. Because again, coming out of college, he was awesome. Coming out of college, Jarrad Davis was excellent. He was good in coverage. He was a beast. He hit people hard. He was fast. He was quick. He was strong. He was everything. He was an everything linebacker, everything you want. But Tom points out, Tom says Matt Patricia sucks. That's funny, man. That's funny. But Jarrad Davis didn't pan out. For one reason or another, maybe it was a bad scheme fit, it didn't work. But what does Joe Douglas do? He took a flyer on him, just like Sheldon Rankins. Sheldon Rankins and Jarrad Davis are not making much money. They're making enough money that they can be cut at the end of the season if they don't work out, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But as the belief was that Jarrad Davis is a really good linebacker that wasn't used properly, he's been looking good. He's been looking very good in OTAs. Now, again, it's before the pads go on. Before the pads go on, nothing really matters. Again, as we talked about, there's a lot of short superstars. There's a lot of short superstars. But when the pads go on, things change. And when the preseason starts and you're playing somebody else, then things change again. So as you guys remember, I mentioned preseason's crucial. Preseason's so important. People saying that the preseason doesn't matter are out of their mind because you need to see what your team does against other competition, not just yourself. You need to see what they do against other teams. So Matthias points out Jamie Sherwood. Jeremy points out Hamza Nasruddin. Shout out to both you guys because I freaking love both of them. As you guys know, I freaking love both of them. I'm really excited with their potential. That's why I'm thinking, hell, if Gerard Davis works out, that's great. Excuse me. But I'm excited about Sherwood and Nasruddin. Man, Jamie and Sherwood, you guys remember what I said about him. You guys remember that tweet when they said he was slow for a 4.7 40? Well, that 4.75 40 was for a safety. Yeah, 4.75 40 for a safety is slow. That's not terrible for a linebacker. I mean, it's not the greatest, but that's not terrible for a linebacker. That's not terrible by any means. So as you guys remember, when I talked about Sherwood and Nasruddin, now that they're linebackers, they need to be reevaluated. You need to reevaluate them in their new position. And in their new position, I immediately, as you guys remember, I pointed out, come back to that Keanu Neal type. I come back to that Keanu Neal type hybrid linebacker that's excellent in coverage, a beast, and that's what these two guys are. We talk about Sherwood. Remember, when they interviewed Sherwood when he was still going to be a safety, and they asked him about the 4.75 40, you remember what he said? His motto was, speed doesn't matter when you can hit it. He said, what do? You hit it. Remember, he said, you can run a 4.1 40, but when you hit a wall, that ends. That was what Sherwood said. You remember, guys, you can run a 4.1 40, but when you hit a wall, that ends. Like, man, I want that on a t-shirt. Like, that's t-shirt material right there. So Jamie and Sherwood is going to murder people like Jamal Adams used to. Basically, that's the position he's going to be very good at, except he's actually going to be able to cover. It's going to be a secret. He'll actually be able to cover because Jamal wasn't that great in coverage. He really, really wasn't. So, as Matthias points out, don't forget Hamza Nasruddin. Man, I couldn't forget about Hamza Nasruddin. I couldn't forget about Nasruddin if I tried. You guys remember I wrote an article all about Nasruddin. I was talking all about him. You remember when we took Sherwood, I said, well, if we're taking a safety to play the hybrid linebacker, I don't hate Sherwood, but I really wanted Hamza Nasruddin. Like, that was my guy. I'm like, this guy's 6'4", 220 pounds. He's a tackling machine. Nasruddin had 192 tackles in 2 years. 2 years. 192 tackles in 2 years. That's 8 shy from 100 a season. In 2020, he only played 2 games. He had 13 tackles. This dude is an excellent tackler, great ball skills, excellent in coverage. In fact, next to C.J. Mosley, I would probably say Hamza Nasruddin is our best coverage linebacker right now. That's what I would say. So when it comes to coverage, you have C.J. Mosley, then Hamza Nasruddin. Hamza Nasruddin, I tweeted a video out if you guys want to see it. I showed him covering a tight end during the Senior Bowl. Granted, it's the Senior Bowl. It's not real, an actual game, but you can see it. You can see his anticipation, his speed, his physicality. He's the kind of guy you want covering linebackers. Hamza Nasruddin is going to be one of the biggest steals of this draft. I remember when we took him, I couldn't believe it. I was so excited because Nasruddin was projected, as you guys remember, as I told you, to be a 2nd to 3rd round pick. That's where he was projected because his numbers were amazing. Remember those 192 tackles in 2 years and other numbers as well as him being really good in coverage and a big hitter. But why did he fall so far? Because of injury. Well, guess what? Same thing happened to Bryce Hall. Bryce Hall looked like a top draft pick when he played, but because of injury, he fell. Well, we all know how that panned out. Bryce Hall is our CB1 right now. So don't sleep on Hamza Nasruddin. Like I've been saying, Hamza Nasruddin could be the biggest steal of this draft. Nasruddin could be the biggest one. So we talk about linebacker. Obviously, if C.J. Mosley's where he's supposed to be, he's that middle linebacker. If he's not, maybe Gerard Davis is. Maybe Gerard Davis can play that role. A lot of people feel like he can. So that, again, gives us versatility. At the outside position, I mentioned, Sherwood and Nasruddin. Those are the 2 guys I'm really excited about. For as linebackers, their speed is unbelievable. Their lateral ability, their sideline-to-sideline ability. When they play at the line of scrimmage, they're really just box safeties. Think about it. When you put a linebacker at the line, he's really just a box safety. And Nasruddin and Sherwood, they freaking thrive at that. Those 2 dudes are going to be blowing people up in the backfield. So I love both of their potentials on the outside. In the middle, we got Mosley. But hey, maybe it's Gerard Davis. Again, there's versatility. One guy that's interesting is Blake Cashman. Blake Cashman would make an excellent 4-3 outside linebacker. But as you guys know, this dude can't stay healthy. Blake Cashman has never been able to stay healthy. Blake Cashman is a sneeze away from the IR. That's the way to think about Blake Cashman. He's a big sneeze away from landing on IR. He's never played a full season in college or played a full season in the NFL. He never has, ever. So he'd be an interesting option, but he's never been able to stay healthy. So I'm not counting him. Excuse me. Moving on to corner, because again, we talk about, and a lot of Jet fans, we're worried how we are at cornerback, but you shouldn't be, because as I pointed out, Robert Saleh defenses thrive with getting to the quarterback. That's what they're made for. All of them. Look at it. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I remember every single season that Robert Saleh was the 49ers coach, they consistently get to the quarterback, top of the NFL. Their quarterback hurries, either third or fifth or sixth or second. They're always top of the NFL because his defense are prided with getting to the quarterback, causing disruption, breaking up the play, taking the pressure off the corners. So like Christy points out, shout out to Christy Marie, she points out that, I'm worried about the cornerback room, a lot of young and experienced guys. Is the door closed on Sherwood? So again, it comes down to, and again, shout out Christy, appreciate your question. Again, first it comes down to the pass rush. This defense is designed with getting to the quarterback. It's designed with constant and consistent quarterback pressure, keeping the quarterback in flux, forcing plays, breaking it down, and taking the pressure off of the corners. So that's going to be a big help for them. We do have a young and experienced room. But remember when they asked Robert Saleh about it, and they said, do you want to bring in a veteran? I think this was, again, about a month ago or so. He said, why? He said, I have all of these guys that look really good. And there are a lot of guys. CB1, Bryce Hall. That's it. You guys remember last year in Adam Gase's system on a bad team, he still looked like a CB1. Don't forget that. He looked like a CB1 in limited play when he was finally healthy and ready to play in a bad system with Greg Williams on a bad team led by our head coach, who I'm not going to mention this time. So the potential is just starting for him. Bryce Hall is just scratching the surface of the potential he has. So Bryce Hall, CB1. Now CB2. You guys remember I had a whole podcast episode on the CBs, if you guys would check it out. I mentioned actually four guys, really. It could be four, it's really three. So right now, the CB2 competition is between Bless Austin, who I'm a little upset at. I don't know if you guys remember. I tweeted out, just pointing it out. I don't know if he's watching. For some reason, Bless Austin blocked me. I don't know why. As you guys know, I'm a huge Bless Austin fan. I've done nothing but praise him. I always say how great he is. I loved when we drafted him. I loved his potential. I loved when we got him from Rutgers. I thought, like Hall, that he was really good when he played, but because of injury, he didn't. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know why he blocked me. I'm really sad about that. But it's between Bless Austin, Jason Pinnock, who you guys know how I feel about Jason Pinnock. I really think Pinnock can be the guy, and Isaiah Dunn, but could also be Lamar Jackson. It could potentially be him. Because as you guys remember, I pointed out out of all the Jets defense, not just the corners, out of the entire Jets defense, the player that allowed the lowest missed tackles on the Jets was Lamar Jackson. Last year, it was undrafted free agent corner Lamar Jackson. Allowed the lowest missed tackle percentage on the New York Jets last year. He only missed one tackle. So he could potentially be it, but right now it looks to be a competition between Austin, Jason Pinnock, and Isaiah Dunn. And as you guys remember with Isaiah Dunn, he got the highest paid contract of any undrafted corner ever. No undrafted corner has ever been paid as much as that. And he really looked really good so far in camp. In fact, as you guys remembered, when I spoke to DJ Bieniemy, when I did my exclusive with him, one of the big guys he mentioned was Isaiah Dunn. That was one of the big guys he mentioned, Isaiah Dunn. So Isaiah Dunn is a really interesting story because, again, undrafted, but highest paid of all of them, any undrafted guy ever. He's very quick. He's prototypical for an outside corner. He's about 6'1", 194 pounds. He's quick. He's strong. He didn't do much at Oregon State. But again, Oregon State didn't do much. Oregon State had one of the worst teams. Oregon State was so bad, they fired their head coach and brought in a new guy. And they had a one-win season. So a lot of people felt that Isaiah Dunn was a product of a bad system at Oregon State and bad coaching at Oregon State. That's what a lot of people felt. And that's why some people are very excited on Isaiah Dunn. And again, Joe Douglas was so excited on him. He made him the highest paid corner of any undrafted guy ever. And he's been playing with the ones. In camp, it was him, Bless Austin, and Jason Pinnock. And you guys remember me, pointing out about Jason Pinnock. So you guys remember me pointing out about Jason Pinnock? That's my guy. I freaking love Jason Pinnock. I really am excited about him. I like all of them. I mean, I'm excited about Austin, even though he blocked me. I'll be honest. I'm hurt about that. I'm a little hurt. I don't know what happened there, but Bless Austin blocked me, but I'm still excited about him. I like his potential. Pinnock, though. You guys remember the stats I pointed out, how on an island at Pitt, he was putting up numbers with the top cornerbacks in the league. People were talking about him getting beat over the top, but Bryce Hall will get beat over the top too. He's a big physical corner. You give him safety help over the top. So I like that. So could we bring in a veteran? It was Krista. Krista mentioned it. Is the door closed on Sherwood? I would probably kind of say, yeah. I would say the door pretty much is closed on Sherwood because I felt that, I was excited about Sherwood. I was really excited about, Sherman. I was really excited about the potential of bringing in Richard Sherman. But I felt if that would have happened, it would have happened already. Like I felt if the Jets were going to bring in Richard Sherman, they would have done that already. Robert Saleh would have reached out to Richard Sherman in, the beginning of free agency, spoke to him, tell him we need a leader, we need a motivator, we need a guy like you on this defense. And that would have been it. Because, he followed him from, around from Seattle to the Niners. So it hasn't happened. So as much as even though Sherman is still available, and yes, I guess he's technically an option, I would have felt it would have happened already. I felt that, like I was just saying, that Richard Sherman would have signed a while ago. So I do feel like the door is closed there. There's other veteran options, but none of them are great. You guys remember a lot of people were talking about Steven Nelson for a while. I kept pointing out that Steven Nelson was a CB2. He was a CB2 on his best days. And right now, we have our CB1 in Bryce Hall. Excuse me. But our CB2 is an open competition. We have an open competition between three. Shout out to Steven. I see you guys. Yeah. Love your comments, guys. Love it. Bring them in. Bring in your comments. Love it. Tommy, I got to go get some more water, man. I'm running out. I ran out of my water. I got to go get some more. My voice is going to be sounding all dry. You guys are going to hear me getting dry from here on out. But, yeah, man, I love you guys. Appreciate you, Steven. Appreciate you, Tommy. Appreciate you, Jeremy, Matthias, all you guys. Appreciate you in the chat. Appreciate you guys bringing the heat. But with back to the cornerback situation, why bring in a veteran like Steven Nelson when you have an interesting competition right now? That's basically what Saleh said. You have an interesting competition between Austin, Pinnock, and Dunn. Let's see if one of them steps up. One of them might step up and be really, really good. Or hell, maybe Lamar Jackson is going to come out of right field and be the guy. We don't know. So let's see. Let's see when the pads go on. Let's see when maybe the preseason begins, but mainly when those pads go on in training camp. That's when we're going to be looking at that CB2. So again, Bryce Hall penciled in at CB1. That CB2 is an open competition right now. Now, slot CB is going to be an interesting competition between Michael Carter and Javelin Guidry. Yes, Brandon Echols is in the mix, but I see him as a distant third right now. I see Echols as a distant third looking in. I see it as a competition between Michael Carter II and Javelin Guidry. Now, both of these guys, as you guys remember, even Echols, as I mentioned, they're all lightning fast. All of these guys run a 4.340. In fact, Echols, who runs a 4.34, runs the slowest 40 of all of them. That's what you want with guys like this. Smaller slot guys, interior guys, you want that elite speed. And all three of them are very physical. They play the corner really tight. They're good in coverage. We saw it last year with Guidry. Remember, everyone wanted Brian Poole back. I was saying, guys, Javelin Guidry was basically just as good. Brian Poole, one of the better slot corners in the NFL, gets hurt, comes out, an undrafted rookie comes in. He looks just as good. They don't miss a beat. Javelin Guidry was like I think 3 or 4 coverage points below Brian Poole in PFF coverage last year, and Guidry was an undrafted rookie. And now you got Michael Carter. Remember, Michael Carter right now, he looks like the guy. He looks like the guy that's going to be the starting slot CB right now. So between the two of them, what's interesting, and you guys remember I pointed this out, people tend to forget this. People tend to forget, everyone's like, we need a good slot corner. We need a good slot corner. Well, what about the other side, right? There's two sides to a football field. You got your 50, and there's two sides. So there's two interiors to that field. It makes sense to have two really good interior guys. Between Michael Carter on one side and Javelin Guidry on the other, you can blanket the center and interior of that field. And you guys remember I pointed that out in a tweet. Between Michael Carter II and Javelin Guidry, being able to play that slot corner position on both the interiors of the field, as well as now let's say you want a bigger guy, a more physical guy for a tight end. You have Jamie Sherwood and Hamza Nasruddin as two hybrid guys that could play and blanket their interior of the field. That's exciting. That is exciting. That means you have these smaller, really, really fast, really quick slot corners and these bigger, more physical hybrid linebackers that were safeties. That's really exciting. So the interior of the field could be a tough place for teams to throw against this year. The interior of the field between guys like C.J. Mosley locking down the middle of that field. Again, I mentioned the two linebackers. I mentioned the two corners. That might be tough, guys. It might be tough for people to find the middle of the field against us this year. Because again, you got those two guys, Michael Carter II and Javelin Guidry. They should both play. Let them both play. You play 4 cornerback sets sometimes. They both play, lock down the interior of that field. So, moving on to the last position, talking about safety, the big elephant in the room. The big elephant in the room. What the hell's going on with Marcus May? Is Marcus May going to get signed or not? So as we know, we're coming into the deadline. We're coming into the crunch. The crunch is coming between whether Marcus May can get signed long-term or not. But don't let everyone all freak you out, because don't forget, he can still be signed at the end of the season. A lot of people, you know how the media is, a lot of people are going to be spinning this, oh my God, we're getting close to the day, Marcus May hasn't re-signed. Yes, but he's still here this year, and they can re-sign him at the end of the season. Totally can happen. So he's not going anywhere as of right now. So May, one of the better safeties in the NFL, you're going to pair him with LaMarcus Joyner. Remember, I talked about LaMarcus Joyner, right? We talked about how when we signed him, PFF broke down how he looked at different positions. PFF had said that, in the slot, he was awful. In the slot, he was terrible. He had like a PFF grade of 60. But at free safety, when he exclusively played free safety, his PFF rating was 90.1. 90.1. And that was the big question mark. Is he going to play safety or not? Well, I'm happy to report, and I reported it when it happened, that remember Flight 2021, on Flight 2021, Jeff Ulbrich said that LaMarcus Joyner is going to be playing safety. That is what Jeff Ulbrich said. Jeff Ulbrich said that LaMarcus Joyner will be playing safety. And all I have to say is hallelujah, because that is wonderful. Again, when LaMarcus Joyner only played safety in the NFL, he has a PFF of 90.1. You put him back there with Marcus May, man, that could be the tandem that him and Adams were supposed to be. This LaMarcus Joyner-Marcus May tandem could be the tandem that we thought Adams and May were going to be. Now, is LaMarcus Joyner that big beast of a guy that's going to play at the line and murder people like Adams did? No. But that's what Jamie Sherwood is for. That's the point, guys. This is a hybrid defense. You want a lot of guys that can do a lot of different things and can be plugged into different roles. I mean, this is probably not going to happen, but just to give you the example of being able to be plugged in different roles. You could have Marcus May playing outside linebacker. You could have Ashton Davis playing outside linebacker. You could have Hamza Nasruddin and Sherwood back at safety. There's so many options you have. You have a hybrid defense where there's so many people that can be used in interchangeable ways. And that's exciting, and that's what's going to make this defense dynamic. So at safety, I'm thinking the main tandem is going to be LaMarcus Joyner at free safety, again with that 90.1 PFF at free safety, and Marcus May at strong safety. But don't sleep on Ashton Davis. Too many people are sleeping on Ashton Davis. And if you're sleeping on Ashton Davis, my reminder to you is the Carolina Panther game. My reminder to you is when Ashton Davis snuck into the box against the Panther game and absolutely murdered Cam Newton and took the dude out of the game. Excuse me, guys. But you remember Ashton Davis played at the line, came in, blasted Cam Newton in the face, took him out of the game. Now, this wasn't a smaller safety. Sorry, this wasn't a smaller quarterback. This is Cam Newton, big Cam Newton. Ashton Davis hit him and took him down. So don't sleep on Ashton Davis. He didn't get a lot of opportunity last year. When he did, he was okay. But he's in his second year now. Don't sleep on him. That's my only message. Do not sleep on him because, again, he's unbelievably fast. You guys remember when we drafted him, he was a hurdle expert. He was a track runner. This dude, if you guys remember, it was just like when we drafted not drafted. It was just like when we brought Javelin Guidry on as an undrafted free agent. Same thing. They showed footage of Ashton Davis running his, track in high school. It's like everybody else is running in slow motion, and there goes Davis. The dude is just insanely fast. So Ashton Davis is unbelievably fast, but he's also a big hitter. As we saw, came up to the line of scrimmage, bang, took Cam Newton right out. So don't sleep on him. But again, I really like the combination of Joyner and May. But like Steven points out, you can see three safeties. And that's what's so exciting about this, guys. All of these guys, they can move up to the line of scrimmage, play the hybrid linebacker role. They could shift back. That's the difference with Hamza, with Sherwood. All of them, they all have this ability. And that's what's so exciting. So exciting. So, we've been talking a lot. I'm all dry. I got no water left. We've been talking all about the different positions. That's the positional battles to watch. That's all the positional battles to watch, guys. Those are the main ones. Again, just going through them all quick. You got quarterback 2. You got the running back, the whole backfield, completely wide open. You got wide receiver 2. You got slot wide receiver, though I do think Elijah Moore is going to come on more as the season goes. But you have slot. You have the right guard position on the offensive line, the right guard. You have the linebackers, as I pointed out, who's going to be playing where, because it's very interesting right now of who's going to be in what position, on the linebacker spots, cornerback 2, and slot corner. So there's a lot of positional battles that we're going to be looking at. And that's what's going to be exciting. Because, again, when the pads go on, things change. Don't forget that, guys. When the pads go on, it's different. We see a lot of short superstars all the time. When these pads go on, it's going to look different. It's going to be different. Some other guys might step up. Some guys, we see it all the time. Guys step up in training camp that we don't expect. And guys that look good before the pads went on become non-existent. We see it all the time. So, as I mentioned to you guys, I told you I was going to do some fan Q&A. I brought up your stuff as you were going through the show. Shout out to all you guys. I appreciate you guys. Steven, Jeremy, Matthias, Tom, KP, Ripper, Tommy, all you guys. Really appreciate you guys. Appreciate all you guys bringing the comments, bringing the heat, bringing everything. Love it. So again, I've gone through all the stuff you guys have mentioned. We've literally gone through every position. We've literally gone through every position on the team. But now I want to give you guys the opportunity to ask any questions you want. So again, we are doing a fan Q&A. I was going to bring up 2 questions that came up on Twitter because there were 2 people that said they unfortunately weren't going to be able to make it to the show. So I said I would bring their questions up. And most likely we addressed them, and we did. Because, again, we went through everything. We talked about the offense. We talked about everything on offense and everything on defense. So shout out to Irish Jets. Irish Jets asked about the right guard spot. I think the right guard spot's exactly what I was saying. I think don't be surprised if George Fant gets an opportunity to compete for that spot, even though I think most likely Greg Van Roten's going to win it. But Alex Lewis will probably get an opportunity, and maybe some of these younger guys like Hodge or somebody else may get an opportunity. But right now it's looking like Greg Van Roten, which is going to open up the opportunity for George Fant to play all along that line, to play that swing tackle. So big one shout out, because Tom brings up a point. We talked about everything. We talked about every position on the team except special teams. We did not talk about special teams. So kicker right now is a big unknown because right now we got the undrafted kid and we got I don't know why I'm blanking on his name right now. Probably because he's so bad. Ficken. I don't know why I'm blanking right now on Ficken. So right now, it's an interesting kicking competition right now. Right now, it's again between Ficken and the undrafted guy, Nager. It's going to be interesting to see what happens because neither one has looked great. Neither one has looked good or bad. They both kind of just look meh. That's been the reports. The reports have been that they both kind of just look eh. So, like Tom says, what the hell are we doing about the kicker position? That's exactly what I was thinking. Tom, I was thinking the same freaking thing. I was about to say, what the hell are we going to do about the kicker position? I have no idea. Maybe it'll come down to who gets cut. Remember last year, Joe Douglas brought in a lot of guys, and unfortunately, none of them panned out, like Vedvik and, oh my God, Taylor and all of them. Oh, they were all bad. But he brought in guys to give it a shot. So it'll be interesting to see him bring in maybe some guys as teams cut them potentially. So kicker's far from decided. Kicker's a complete open spot right now. I hate to say it because kicker's been a big issue. As you know, and as you guys have seen, we have literally won and lost games because of kicking. You do. Teams do all the time. You can literally win and lose a game because you missed an extra point, because you missed a field goal at one point. Kicking is so important. And that's why the really good kickers in the league, they don't go anywhere. You guys remember in free agency, I was all over Young Ki Hu. I was all over him. I was like, oh my God, Ku's going free agents. I want him. There's no way he was going free agent. There was no way they were going to let him walk. It just wasn't going to happen because the really good kickers in the NFL, they don't go anywhere. They stay on their team because their teams know what they have. We were stupid enough in letting Jason Myers walk. We had a decent, not great, but a decent kicker in Jason Myers. And we let him walk. And since then, we've had nothing but crap. So, again, right now it's a competition between Ficken, who's been bad, and Nager, who is an undrafted guy who's only been okay too. So that's going to be an interesting situation. But right now, kicker's wide open, and neither one of the guys honestly have looked like the guy. So PK, I love that, PK. You know what? Like I said, bro, be optimistic. Be optimistic. Shoot for the stars, man. So shout out to PK Ripper. Excuse me. He says, what if scenario? What if the Jets play well, overachieve, make the playoffs? How many wins does it take for Saleh to get coach of the year? Man, I'll take that a step further. Forget wins. If the Jets make the playoffs with a rookie quarterback and a rookie head coach, Robert Saleh's coach of the year. Done. If the Jets make the playoffs, regardless of the amount of wins, then I think Robert Saleh will most likely get coach of the year because nobody, hell, most people remember, I think it's unbelievable. Remember my whole rant on PFF, how pissed I was at PFF, how they're saying we have the best free agencies and the best drafts and still one of the worst teams. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Everybody's still expecting us to suck. Everybody's like, it doesn't matter that Joe Douglas has put together a good team. It doesn't matter how much talent this team has. It doesn't matter that Zach Wilson has all this potential and, can be great. Doesn't matter. Jets still suck. That's what everyone's saying. So if we blow everyone away and we make the playoffs, I don't think wins matter, man. I don't think the wins matter. If the Jets make the playoffs, Robert Saleh's coach of the year. Like Matthias says, I guess we got to go for 2 points. Maybe, bro. Maybe. Because kicker's the big blank spot right now. I mean, when we brought in Nager, the biggest thing I liked about Nager is his leg. That kid can kick like a 70-something yarder. Like, this dude can kick as hard and as far as anybody. But accuracy, that's the million-dollar question. Because it's great to have a strong leg. I mean, you guys, excuse me, you guys remember that Duke kicker we had not too long ago that I actually really liked. I don't know if you guys remember Ross Martin. I really liked Ross Martin, that Duke kicker. That kid had a great, super strong leg, but he wasn't the most accurate. So Nager has a super strong leg. How accurate can he be? I really don't think Ficken can be it. I just don't. I just really don't think Ficken can be it. So that was Irish Jets question again. Shout out to Irish Jets. We've talked about it before. And same thing with Robert Saleh fan club. Shout out to Robert Saleh fan club. He says, where do you see John Franklin Myers playing? Says he sees him playing at defensive end a lot. I think, remember, just like I was saying before, That's what makes this so much potential. That's what makes this so beautiful. You have Quinnen Williams penciled in as that defensive interior number one, who's going to be amazing and just eat. He's going to be great, just scratching the surface of his potential. You got Carl Lawson, who's also going to be elite. He's a top edge rusher in the NFL. Then you have all these other guys in the interior. Maybe it's John Franklin Myers. Maybe it's Sheldon Rankins on the other end. Maybe it's Vinny Curry, who it's most likely going to be Vinny Curry. If I had to put my money on somebody, I'd say Vinny Curry. Remember, John said the fastest get off he's ever seen of anybody in his life. And that's at 33 years old. At 33, he's got the fastest get off he's ever seen in his life. So that stuff's just crazy. So that's awesome. So maybe it's Franklin Myers on the outside, or maybe it's Vinny Curry, or maybe it's Bryce Huff, or maybe it's Javaris Vanika. So many options. But we have options. So that's what makes it so exciting. So I don't know if you guys have any other questions, anything else you want to ask before we get going. But we covered everything. I mean, we talked about it all. We talked about, again, the big hype about training camp, how it's all about, the pads getting on. Once the pads gets on, things change. Remember, think of it just like what I said, what Mike Tyson said. Remember, Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. And that's 100% true. So when the pads go on and these dudes start punching each other and hitting each other, well, hopefully not punching each other, but when these dudes start hitting each other, it's going to get interesting. It's going to get really interesting. And we're going to separate the men from the boys. And we're going to see who the real NFL players are and who the NFL wannabes are. That's exactly what we're going to see. So the pads are going on, but those positional battles, there's a lot of them. Remember, I mentioned I think I mentioned like 10. I honestly mentioned like 10. There's a lot of positional battles that are going on in camp. So Jeremy mentions punter. The punter's set, guys. The punter is set. The punter, without question, as you guys know, we're set. I mean, I guess it's possible, they could bring in somebody else. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe they're going to bring Steve Weathered in out of retirement. Maybe they'll bring Steve Weatherford in out of retirement to be the Jets punter. But no, guys, it's Braden. It's man. That's it. The punter's man. That's it. So the punter's man. That's it. Again, the kicker, totally wide open. It's a bad question mark. In fact, like I said, neither Nager nor Ficken have either. Neither of them have looked that great. The comments on the media have kind of all been Matt. The comments have been that they've done some good stuff. They also have done some not some great stuff. I hate to say it, but it kind of looks like we're going into kicker this year like it has been the last couple of years. And if you think about it, we haven't actually had, Jason Myers was okay. He was okay. But we haven't had a consistently good kicker. Like a consistently good, like our kicker since Nick Folk. We haven't had our kicker since Nick Folk. And that was like decades ago, like a decade ago. So this is just nuts. This is crazy. So we need to get a kicker. I don't think we have him right now, but it's going to be interesting. So again, that's all of it. I hope I answered all your guys' questions. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you have any other questions, feel free to bring them up. But again, we talked about everything. We talked about all the different positions. We talked about all the different opportunities, all the different positional battles we're going to see. It's going to be exciting. So once those pads go on, look at all those positional battles because it's going to be exciting to see who becomes the guy and who steps up. Because I remember, like I told you guys, blank slate. Right now, anybody's game. If you want it, come get it. That should be the message right now. If you want it, come take it. Come earn the position. Okay? So I appreciate you guys. I want to thank you guys, like always, for tuning into the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. It was an absolute pleasure being here with you guys this Monday evening. We talked a lot. We got all into those Jets. It was a lot of fun, guys. A lot of fun. We talked about everything. We talked about all the positions, complete positional analysis. We talked about all the different battles we're going to see. It was exciting stuff. So again, I appreciate all you guys being here. Thank you for taking time on your Monday evenings to tune into the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. Thank all of you again for being active in the chat. I appreciate all you guys with your comments. I appreciate all your shout outs, all your questions. Thank you guys for being there. And I will catch you guys next Monday. Have a great week and go Jets.